Hello and welcome. In today's landscape, IT is at the heart of nearly every operation and transformation. Whether the IT project is to replace a legacy system or implement new state-of-the-art technology, CFOs have a critical role in IT projects by ensuring financial and implementation integrity. This tutorial discusses why and how a CFO's monitoring and response to a project's key risk indicators, KRIs, key performance indicators, KPIs, and return on investment, ROI, plays an important role in helping IT projects stay on track and identify problems early. Often I would be the second or third project manager taking over a troubled project. In these situations, I would look to partner with auditors, PMOs, and risk managers to help mitigate issues to put a project back on track. Eventually, I realized that one of the best partners to help a project is the CFO, since they can ask hard questions with financial knowledge and clout to steer a troubled project in a positive direction. For example, no significant IT project expenditures, especially unplanned change requests and integrator contract scope changes, should occur without the CFOs assessing the value of the expenditure in the context of KRIs, KPIs, and ROI. The CFO's involvement in IT projects can be to help monitor, assess, and fix a project if it is at risk of not achieving its goals, and its ROI is in jeopardy of not being achieved. Questions a CFO can ask, for example, are: is the project furthering the organization's strategic business goals? And will the project's benefits forecasted in the ROI be realized for the cost? Are there ERP delays and overruns that can negatively impact the project's completion on time and on budget, and support the delivery of important services to customers? Will late system implementation delay revenue and undermine competitiveness? From the stakeholders' perspective, is the project's features aligned with their needs and customer needs? Every day we read in the business news how IT initiatives fail, especially AI projects, causing harm to their organization. After decades of studying IT project failures, IT projects with significant problems still hovers between 40 and 60%. You have to wonder how and why does a project's issues get missed. Lessons learned from past projects hasn't stuck. A CFO's involvement in a project can help avoid this situation. KRIs, KPIs, and ROI metrics can be used to check the health and progress of a project and identify early troubling trends. While everyone starts out with great enthusiasm when a project starts, as a project progresses, its complexity increases, and so does its risks. The unforeseen or ignored gaps become concrete, needing attention for the project to be successful. Budget and time can be wasted from delays, missed functionality, poor design, defective work, and stakeholder rejection of solutions. Many waste issues can be prevented and mitigated with proper risk oversight and response. Risk management isn't just a technical activity, it's a project and ROI safeguard, and can ensure that costly waste and surprises are surfaced early and addressed. The Chief Financial Officer plays a pivotal role in risk governance through some of the following activities. 1. By providing strategic oversight of project financial risks and seeing that IT projects are aligned with enterprise business goals, risk appetites, and risk management processes. 2. As a member of risk governance committees, collaborate with the CIO, PMO, and CRO to monitor and respond to risk, and advocating for integrating risk controls into project processes. 3. By verifying project risk, monitoring of cost overruns, timeline slips, scope creep, etc., through analysis of forecasted versus actual baselines occurs and is reported. 4. Verifying and tracking ROI realization by ensuring that risks do not erode the anticipated return on IT investments. 5. Risk-adjusted decision-making by embedding risk-based thinking into capital allocation and investment gating. 6. Overseeing vendor contractual risks, verifying contracts are financially viable and have appropriate exit, penalty, change request management, indemnity, SLA, and contract breach and security breach clauses. 7. Verifying that projects are compliance and audit ready. And last, 8. Participate in financial risk escalation of high-impact risks using actionable data to executive leadership with go, no-go decisions based on financial analysis. Risk reporting may also include presenting potential financial exposures due to IT project delays or failures. The CFO can act as the gatekeeper of IT capital investments and manage the spending of IT dollars by approving, pausing, or redirecting funding based on a project's lack of progress and resulting financial risk. The CFO's IT project oversight can determine whether an IT project initiative becomes a bottom-line win or a budgetary black hole. While some of these activities might seem to duplicate activities of other groups, they ensure an effective division and execution of risk management responsibilities. Given the large amount of IT work that goes on in most organizations, the CFO might want a dedicated accountant or IT risk manager in their department to help oversee the risk governance activities. For this tutorial, we will use a simple definition of risk, being any harmful event that can negatively impact a project that is either occurring or can occur. Early risk detection in an IT project contributes to project success through the following benefits. 1. Managing cost overruns through avoiding expensive rework or emergency fixes. 2. Minimizing scope creep by addressing unclear or changing requirements early. 3. Protecting the project schedule through timely interventions before risks escalate into blockers. 4. Improving resource allocating staff to bottlenecks before they occur. 5. Supporting better quality outcomes by encouraging rigorous testing of risk-prone areas. 6. Increasing ability to achieve ROI and business value by protecting the investment. And 7. Facilitating continuous improvement. Overall, early detection contributes to mature risk management practices and project governance. Risk assessments and project KRI and KPI metrics create critical real-time visibility of existing and potential project problems that enable early risk detection to be effective, keeping a project on track. The CFO can help achieve these project-strengthening outcomes through promoting early risk detection. Is your project really doing as well as you think? Or are people only telling you the project is okay when it's not? I often meet with CEOs, CFOs, and CIOs who tell me that the second or third phase or sprints of their projects went fine and that the project is on track. The trouble is that project initiation, requirements, and even design can appear successful since early activities are the easiest. Even the design phase can appear to be on track if the designs are not adequately prototyped, reviewed, and tested by stakeholders. Verbally reviewing agile stories and flowcharts is not effective in uncovering gaps in requirements or design. Often, when the project is not going well, the mantra is, "The project is fine," even when KRIs and KPIs say different. I have two thoughts about this situation. First, there really can be optimism, and that the team simply hasn't gotten to the hard part of the project. This is where executive management lets down its guard, and by time the bad news comes, they have very little recourse but to either cancel the project or continue to sink money into it, hoping for a turnaround. Other reasons for not admitting that the project is not okay are more complex. The list shows 11 often seen magical thinking or denial thinking behaviors that undermine a project. Let's review and consider if you have ever heard any of the following situations. 1. Project's team overconfidence in believing they can turn it around. 2. Confirmation bias, where people only seek information that supports their positive view while dismissing negative signals. 3. Faulty optimism, believing that project problems are temporary and can be fixed. 4. Executive sponsor or project manager engage in denial thinking as a way to protect their reputation. 5. Negative information filtering by project team, sometimes referred to as impression management. 6. The project team misplaces its focus on short-term fixes, thinking they distract from bigger issues. 7. No stage-gate peer reviews to evaluate and give feedback on the real status of the project. 8. Political and stakeholder pressure to continue on. 9. Keeping strategic partnerships alive to avoid external or internal backlash. 10. Failure to tie outcomes to ROI, letting executives think in terms of deliverables rather than value. And last, 11. The belief, and maybe hope, that future phases will fix the current problems. The idea is that even if phase 1 fails, it's okay since it lays the groundwork for future phased improvements. The CFO plays a critical role in helping the organization objectively sort out and respond to a project on a negative trajectory. Key risk indicators, KRIs, measure present and future adverse impacts of risks on a project and provide early warning signs of project's strategic, operational, financial, or compliance problems. KRIs focus on project vulnerabilities and risks that might impact objectives, schedule, budget, or quality. KRIs, for example, are used for 1. Early detection and risk forecasting. 2. Monitoring risk exposure and proactive intervention. 3. Strengthening risk governance. 4. Measuring risk response effectiveness. And 5. Risk impacts on business objectives and safeguarding ROI. Here are examples of KRIs. 1. For detecting early signs of trouble, KRI examples include rising number of change requests, increased rate of missed deadlines, and growing backlog of unresolved defects. 2. For monitoring risk exposure, KRI examples include Risk Exposure Index, based on severity and likelihood of all active risks, percent of high-impact risks without mitigation plans, and number of open high-priority risks. 3. For strengthening risk governance and controls, KRI examples include percent of controls implemented on schedule and risk assessment findings resolution rate. 4. For measuring risk response, KRIs focus on assessing how well the team responds to risks, with examples including time to resolve identified risks or incidents, frequency of risk register updates, and percent of risks successfully mitigated. And 5. For aligning risks with business objectives, evaluating whether project risks threaten strategic goals or ROI, KRI examples include defect rate that exceeds 10% triggering executive review, or escalation triggers for cost or schedule variances. A weekly review of KRIs can help the CFO to get a clearer picture of the risk issues threatening a project. Key performance indicators are quantifiable measures that evaluate the success or lack of success of a project in achieving its tasks across a variety of people, technology, process, and performance measures. KPIs help executive sponsors, CFOs, steering committee, and stakeholders assess whether the project is delivering expected results, staying on schedule, staying within budget, and meeting business value expectations. KPIs provide progress transparency to executives to support decision-making or corrective actions to take by highlighting underperformance. Examples of KPIs include 1. Comparing actual progress to baselines, ensuring the project is on track to meet scope, schedule, and quality goals. Other KPIs in this category include percent of project milestones completed on time and percent of tasks remaining. 2. Budget and cost variances, KPIs that manage financial performance, preventing budget overruns. Examples of these types of KPIs include Cost Variance Index, CV, and Cost Performance Index, CPI. 3. Timely delivery KPIs evaluate how well the project adheres to its timeline. KPI metric examples include Schedule Performance Index, SPI, Schedule Variance, SV, and On-Time Completion Rate. 4. Quality of deliverables and defect rate KPIs indicate if the project's technical output meets quality standards and user expectations. Examples of KPIs in this category include number of defects per release, user acceptance test pass rate, and defect rework amounts. And 5. KPIs measures that show percent project functional completed, along with user satisfaction with the delivered functionality and issues for resolution. As a recap, KPIs focus on how the project is performing, while KRIs focus on how vulnerable a project is to failing. A weekly review of KPIs can help the CFO to get a clearer picture of the project's health and implementation trajectory. There are 2 scenarios that a CFO should consider when monitoring IT projects. The first scenario is when the KRIs exceed organization's tolerance for project risk. The second scenario is less visible. This is when a project appears to be okay, but its KPIs suggest that the project's processes and deliverables are heading towards problems. Some examples of downstream problems that is a call for corrective action include 1. Gaps in functionality. 2. Milestone delays with a schedule slippage beyond 15% might trigger corrective actions. 3. Budget overruns. A budget trigger might be an overrun of 10%. 4. Team turnover. 5. Stakeholders rejecting design and a growing list of stakeholder complaints. And 6. A growing backlog of defects and change requests. Every organization has its tolerance for project risk and variance. The PMO, risk manager, organizational auditor, or CFO should set corrective action triggers at the beginning of the project. When risk triggers occur, CFOs should request revised project timelines, budget forecasts, stakeholder surveys, and defect rates with explanations from the executive sponsor and project manager regarding the variances. The CFO and steering committee can then determine whether to continue to fund, fix, or freeze the project. That's stewardship in action. Here are some proactive steps a CFO can take with project executive sponsors, steering committees, and project managers to improve a project's outcomes. 1. Mandate weekly risk assessments and risk mitigation responses. 2. Require risk mitigation reporting on weekly status reports and on executive dashboard. 3. Ensure risk management funding. 4. Tie project funding to the achievement of project and mitigation milestones. 5. Require KRIs and KPIs executive dashboards. And 6. Use an independent risk manager to ensure unbiased risk analysis and reporting. These safeguards for success are not about micromanaging an IT project, but about protecting the IT investment. In closing, IT project performance, risk, and ROI reviews are not just about avoiding failure, but about enabling success. In addition, it's rare that completed projects have their ROI assessed as part of the lessons learned activities. Yet, that kind of financial feedback would help improve the success of project delivery of future projects. When the CFO engages in project risk assessments, there is a greater chance for honest problem identification and mitigation, making risk and ROI management an effective cost management strategy. I hope you found this tutorial informative, and thanks for watching. Visit our site at coffeecatsolutions.com for our other project management, risk management, and IT career advising tutorials.